the Trump administration working through really late until the night, Friday night, to get guidance on the Small Business Administration, making sure that nonprofits and churches could participate in the Paycheck Protection Program. That was actually in question Friday morning as the program rolled out. A lot of confusion, but some guidance coming out Friday evening made that very, very clear that churches who are hurting, nonprofits that are hurting, can participate in that as well. Mike Johnson, who was a key part of that, chairman of the Republican Study Committee, will be here to talk about that. Do we have Congressman
Not
McCarthy?
Yet.
Okay, we're waiting on Congressman McCarthy to join us. Key part of the kind of putting this plan together. He's calling it the Marshall Plan for Main Street, in terms of keeping the economy, the engine idling, so that when we get through this virus, we'll be able to get the economy going once again. But I want to start with this. Over the weekend, actually yesterday, on Fox News Sunday, the Surgeon General, Jerome Adams, said this. Play the clip number 3, please.
Well, it's tragically fitting that we're talking at the beginning of Holy Week, because this is going to be the hardest and the saddest week of most Americans' lives, quite frankly. This is going to be our Pearl Harbor moment, our 9/11 moment, only it's not going to be localized. It's going to be happening all over the country, and I want America to understand that. But I also want them to understand that the public, along with the state and the federal government, have the power to change the trajectory of this epidemic. You mentioned Italy and Spain. They had a very, very hard time, and they're still having a hard time, but they seem to have reached their peak and are coming back down on the other side. And you say weeks, months behind. I would actually push back a little bit. When you look at their trajectory, from about a month ago is when they really started to lean into their aggressive mitigation efforts, their really aggressive mitigation efforts. And so I want Americans to understand that as hard as this week is going to be, there is a light at the end of the tunnel if everyone does their part for the next 30 days. We're seeing Washington doing a much better job. California's trajectory has leveled off. And so there is hope, but we've got to all do our part.
And that's the key part. Everyone has to participate, and that is, it's difficult, especially when you're not touched by the virus per se, but it's going to require everyone. In fact, over the weekend, I had talked about this, but my daughter got married, and it was in our front yard with 10 people present. Had to radically change our plans, but we had to do our part. And every American needs to do their part, because the frontline workers, as we've talked about on the health care, the first responders are being impacted by those who are not helping contain the spread of this virus. Joining me now to talk more about this is the House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, who represents the 23rd District of California. Kevin, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Thank you so much, Tony. I appreciate you having me on again. And congratulations to your daughter.
Well, thank you.
It was in a tough time, and I know it was smaller, but it was the presence of God and family, and they're going to have a wonderful life together.
That's right. The presence of God and 10 witnesses, but we got it done. And
That's right.
And they're off to a good start. Let's. You heard the clip as you joined us. The Surgeon General warning: this could be a really bad week when we look at the as we're reaching the apex of the coronavirus.
It very well could be, and the one thing you have to know is what had President Trump not taken those actions by stopping those planes coming from China, it could be worse than where we are today. And the preparation of what we've been going through, if this is going to be our worst week, remember it's going to get better through, but we'll never get through this without all of us uniting together. Look, the virus is here. We did not invite it. We did not ask for it, but we will defeat it together. And every day we learn something new. Every day we get further along. Think of what everybody's doing together. You got Bill Gates out there building 7 different factories because we're getting the ingenuity of a vaccine. Remember, after SARS, it took us 2 years. We were into a clinical trial. We are already into a clinical trial. And he's building these factories knowing 5 of these factories won't go anywhere, and they'll be shut down, and he'll lose money on it. But we'll be prepared with the vaccine there so we can mass produce it and get it through, and some of it's so promising. We're seeing new testing. I just took one of those Abbott tests, not invasive at all, and you get an answer in less than 10 minutes.
Wow.
So as we get through this, and the ventilators and others, but there's lessons we have to learn. Those decades before, where China was able to start controlling a supply chain. China in January buying billions of masks when they were saying it wasn't even causing effect from person to person. It wasn't contagious. The control of what they have over the World Health Organization. Now they have the control of that PPE, the personal protection equipment that our medical doctors need. Well, when they produce 50% there, now we're watching what China is doing, is holding that up to only sell it to countries that are going to agree to, you got to agree to have Huawei come in. Remember, had China not lied to us, 95% of this would never have happened. That's
Right.
what the Southampton study actually told us. And when we fight through this, America will show our ingenuity that we will solve this. We know this is a tough time. We've been through really tough times before. One thing I've always said, we have our faith, let's keep our faith and make our faith stronger. We know God will give us the strength to get through this. We have to help each and every one of us together, and the best way you can help them is staying apart. That social distancing is proving the case. But when we get through this, we're going to have to get this country back up and running. And remember where we started, the strongest economy we ever had, and we could come right back. That's why what government passed from the CARES Act, from the small businesses, getting you back working again, where we'll actually provide you a loan through your community bank. But if you take that money and you pay your employees, even if you laid them off, bring them back. You pay them, you pay your rent, you pay your utilities. That's no longer part of a loan. That's a grant just given to you. So we'll take care of you for the next 2 months, give you that bridge as we go across and get us through this and walk to the other side.
Leader McCarthy, let's talk about how important those small businesses, you talk about the ingenuity of business, and a lot of that driven by small business, the entrepreneurs, and the workforce. I mean, I don't think people realize the large percentage of Americans who work in small business.
It is the majority of Americans. Look, I started my first small business when I was 20, and small businesses can turn into be very big. You know, Apple started in a garage, but these are every small business we see across the nation, anything with 500 employees or fewer. They are the backbone of America. But what's more importantly, government is right now telling them they have to shut down so we can protect all of us.
Right.
Government is stopping us from working. So we have a responsibility collectively. We rather see and they're not having a cash flow. So what are they going to do like anybody else? They're going to have to lay people off. Well, we should give them that bridge, pay for their employees, pay for the rent, pay for the utilities for the next couple months as they get through this, and they can get back opened again. That way we don't fall off the cliff. Remember, starting out how strong we were,
Right.
This problem wasn't created because of financial problems. It wasn't created because they did something wrong in their business. It was created because China lied to us and to the rest of the world. So thousands upon thousands of people had to die. That should never be the case again.
So we had this, as you pointed out, the strongest economy, lowest unemployment, growing wages. Then this hit, this black swan event hit, and now we see, in some cases, unemployment growing. But this is designed, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is designed to kind of keep the engine idling so that when we get on the other side of this, we can take off much more quickly and hopefully get the economy back to where it was.
Perfect description, idling. Just think of your car. You're at a light. You're idling till it's on red right now. They want you paused, stopped, so it would go green. Do you have enough to get going? So it does a number of things. First things it does is $140 billion to our hospitals and those medical individuals on the front line who are our modern-day soldiers, what those nurses and doctors are doing every day, and our first responders. Think about what they're putting their life on the line every day going through.
Right.
Then it goes through, and it actually provides a check to you, where government will send it. If you make $75,000 or less, you're going to get a $1,200 check. You get $500 for your child, too. If you make, then it phases down up to $99,000. Then if you unfortunately get unemployed, Normally, you have to wait a week to get paid. No, we pay you the first week. The other thing we do, the federal government gives you another $600. Then it phases the small business, and then the larger business provides resources to them as well.
Well, this is a once-in-a-lifetime event, as you outlined in your op-ed that was in the Washington Examiner. But America has faced significant challenges before, and together we've gotten through them, and together we can get through this as well with God's help. Leader McCarthy, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate all that you do.
All right, thanks so much. Kevin McCarthy, Minority Leader in the House of Representatives.